So in our last couple of videos, we've been building Dripbox, which is our Dropbox clone. And you really need to go back and watch those two videos if you haven't seen them already. But in the very last video, we added this thing here where we can share specific files, or at least select the files that we want to share. And they get populated into our GUI. Now, there's a problem with this right now where as soon as we close the program, it forgets the things that we've said that we want to share because it has no persistence. And we're going to add that in this video with a database. So in databases, there's basically two flavors to choose from. There's SQL and then there's NoSQL. SQL is great at relational stuff. If you care about the relationships of all the stuff inside of your whole database, then you definitely need to be using SQL. But if you don't care about relations, then there's no reason to be using SQL. In fact, there's a lot of advantages to using NoSQL. And one of those is the fact that it scales really well. And I speak from personal experience because all of my sites run on MongoDB, which is a type of NoSQL. And I've experienced the scaling. Like when I started off, I just had one little MongoDB instance, and now I've got a whole cluster that managed everything. So this would ordinarily be really expensive. Like if you scale on SQL, you got to keep buying bigger and bigger servers. But on NoSQL, I just have a bunch of cheap servers, so it's actually way cheaper than one mega server for traditional SQL. There are other advantages to NoSQL, and we'll probably get into them as we progress. But long story short, we don't care about relational stuff, so we're not going to be using relational databases, right? And now a lot of people use SQL when they don't need a relational database. But they do it because all the old kids are doing it. And that's never the right reason to be doing anything, especially not in programming. You know, say no to drugs, kids, except ACID. You should definitely do ACID, but don't use relational databases when you don't need relational databases. And we don't need a relational database. So let's use a tiny little Mongo database. And to do that, you need to pip install TinyMongo. And from TinyMongo, we want to import our TinyMongo client. Now, TinyMongo is basically a stripped down version of what I use in production for my sites, which is PyMongo. And that goes out and connects to my cluster of servers. But this, we're going to connect to a local file. So we're just going to say that __ client, and by putting these double underscores, it's the way you say that this is a private thing and I shouldn't be screwing around with this outside of this specific file. We say that our client is equal to, and once again, this is where I would put in a connection string to a server, but in this case, I'm just going to say that I want to get the path to my current working directory, and we're just going to give it a file name, and that's it. Like this is making the connection to this file and calling that our TinyMongo client. And the reason I'm using this path join and the get current working directory is I want this to be cross-platform. So on Windows, you got backslashes, and on macOS and Linux, you've got forward slashes. Python's pretty good about handling that, but this makes sure that is handled for. We're just say figure out what directory we're running from and just get a file called dripbox.db there, and that's our connection now to our Mongo server. And we instantiate our database by simply saying that our DB equals the client here and whatever we want to call it. Like that is literally it. We have made a connection to this thing and we're calling it DB for database. So we can now say things like our settings equals DB. And now here we just type in whatever we want to call a collection. So in this case, we're going to call our collection settings. And we're going to find one settings. Now, let me walk through what I just did there. Here's a DB. Here's our collection, and here's the operation we're doing on that collection. Let me show you an actual like real world example here. This is my replica set, which is my cluster of 3 servers. And here are a bunch of different databases inside of this cluster. And inside of that are a bunch of collections. And so inside of this one, there's a collection for articles and comments and things like that. And, we can click on those and get in here and see that each one of these collections includes a whole bunch of documents. And these are usually what you're actually going for. So in this case, here's a article that's on Gnubesoft.com. And you see it's able to take complex objects as well as just plain old strings and nulls and integers. And here's another complex object. It's able to take that and just stuff that into, this is JSON. Well, we haven't been covering JSON very much, but it's a very simple sort of, put things in curly braces and call things names. Like it's basically just a dictionary in Python. So that's very easy to work with in Python. And we really can get some very complex objects inside of here. So here's an example of a dummy account that I made so that people don't sign up to the site naming themselves Reddit, where it'll have a list of IPs associated with that person's login. And once again, we have complex objects for dates. So we're able to stuff a lot of great data inside of this, and it's very useful. But the main things to take note of are the name of the database can be whatever, and the name of the collection can be whatever. Just keep track of what you're doing and where you're doing it. So here we just called the database Dripbox, and we called the collection settings, and I didn't have to go in and manually make a collection called settings. It's just going to automatically be looking in this area for a thing called settings. Now, if it doesn't find anything, it's going to return a none. Because we're doing a find one here, and it'll either give us the thing we're looking for or it'll give us done. So if not settings, well, then we can manually set what we want settings to be. Set to ID settings, and password is just blank for now. And now, if I go to our DB and our settings collection inside the DB, I can insert this. Now I could do it manually, like type in all that stuff again, or I could just pop in that whole big, well, not big, but that whole dictionary in here, and that's going to insert it. And we will see that it does that. So I'm printing settings here. The first time I run it, like right now, you see that there is no files over here on this left side that are called Dropbox.db. But as soon as I run this, and it should, okay. It did, in fact, make a Dripbox.db thing here. And you see that the password is blank, as I said. And inside of this is a JSON file. So that's all it's really going to be. At the end of the day, it's just going to stuff everything we put into this little JSON file. But it's going to be interacted with in the exact same way that we would any kind of big, complex Mongo thing, which is great. Like that's why this is a great lesson kind of material here, because we're doing it on a very small scale, but it's using the same exact principles that we're going to use on any larger scale. So here I can edit this and I change this password to lol. So when I run this now, it should pull the settings from this instead of giving us a none and then setting the password to blank. So let's see if it prints out a password. And it does. So it did pull our settings file. Great. Or our settings collection, our settings document from our settings collection into our settings variable. That got a little confusing. Sorry about that. So let's now remember for our shares, the things that are just disappearing. We just have this global variable here that we're just appending things into. And so since that's just a variable that's just going to disappear as soon as our program closes. So let's get rid of that. And now let's make shares equal to db shares collection find. And there's two things I want to point out here. So when we're doing a find one, it's either going to give us a document or it's going to give us none. When we do a find, it's always going to return basically what amounts to a list. The technical answer here is it's going to give us a cursor. So if you do have experience in SQL, you might be looking at that and freaking out because like, oh my God, you're going to just pound your memory with this whole big table of all the shares. That's not how this works. This is actually going to be grabbing just like the first 10 things. I think it's 10, might be 50. And then it'll seamlessly keep on continuing to give you stuff as you need it. So this works out great. Like, we can drill down and say like we want specific things, and that is true in those specific things, whatever. But in this case, we want it to give us just all of the shares. And if there are no shares, it's just going to give us an empty list. So remember, the way that we were using our shares thing here was up here when we're rebuilding the UI. We are enumerating through the dripbox.shares variable that we're assigning here. So if this is an empty list, that's fine. It won't break anything. It just won't do anything because there's nothing to do with it. But if there is stuff to do with it, then it will work with it. So what we need to do now, like I'll show you that this doesn't break anything. Like, okay, there's just nothing here. It's not breaking and it's not doing anything. So now we need to make it so that when we add a new file to our list, it's going to actually add that to the database. So let's make a new module here. We're going to call this database. And this is where we're going to put all our database related functions here. And we need to import the main project so we can call the dripbox.db when we're working with it. So here we're going to add share, and it's going to take an argument of the share path. And here we're going to call the DB, dripbox.db, and then the shares collection, we're going to insert into it. Now remember when I was inserting back here, we did the same sort of thing where we're taking a dictionary and we're inserting it here. I set the ID because I specifically want the ID to be settings. In this case, I'm not going to set the ID to something like the share path, because if somebody tries to share that same path again, then it would try to insert over itself, and like that'll just cause an unnecessary collision. So instead of specifying an ID, I'm going to let a TinyMongo here figure out the ID for itself, and it'll make sure that that never collides with anything else. So we're never having any duplicates that way. So here instead, we're going to call this the file name. And remember, we were setting progress to 100. We're going to use that later, but let's just use this for right now like this. Now this will work. Like this will, like if I go over here now and change this, here, let me import that database. If I import that function now, we can just immediately start adding shares, which was the value new share. And that'll work. Like this is going to start adding those shares to our database. But remember that we're setting this global shares that's used by the UI up here. We're only setting that at the very beginning of our program. So anything new that we add, we're not getting it to show up because we're not asking it to reload the shares. So let's do that. Let's reload that global shares. And we'll just do db shares and set that to be equal to dripbox db shares find. So we're basically doing the same exact thing we're doing here, except we got to put the dripbox in front of everything. But it's doing the same exact thing that we can now call at the end of that add share function. So this should work. Let's see. So now we select a file and we confirm, and it shows up. All right. And we can, let's add another file just for sake here, showing it here. So, okay, now we got a couple of things that are showing up here. And if we reload the program, we have persistence. Let me run through that just one more time here to clearly show what was going on here. Inside of that dripbox.json, inside of our dripbox.db, you'll see that it's created the new shares files here, and it's automatically assigned these complex IDs that are not going to collide with one another. And these are inside of the shares collection, basically. And here's the settings collection where I had my settings and my password. So it's all getting stuffed into this one file. And it really is that simple, right? We make the client, we instantiate the client. I should start to use that as a term because we're about to get into object-oriented stuff. And this is worth pointing out. This is an object we are creating right now called client. And by creating this, we can just say, okay, client, give me the Dripbox database. And we're just going to call that DB from now on. And now from the settings collection inside of that DB, find my settings file and find my shares and just, if we've got stuff, add it to it. Like it really is very simple. In the next video, we're going to flesh this out some more and get it prepped so that we can start doing the networking part of this. I hope that this has all made sense. Like it really is as simple as it seems. Like, because we don't have to spend a lot of time trying to worry about naming our collections or anything like that. We can just type whatever we want to call it as we want to call it. So I hope this has been useful. Take it easy, folks.